Lough Swilly has long been recognised as a mariner's haven, with a deep channel and sheltered anchorage. Rathmullan, located about 13 miles inland of Fannet Head, is an ideal maritime port. A new pier was built there in the 1950s. This enabled the port to cater for large cargo boats carrying potatoes, coal, timber, salt, potash and other products. Later, large super trawlers from Killybegs used the port to land cargoes of mackerel, which was then transported by road to Killybegs. While this activity provided much needed employment for the region, it did not last. One activity that has stood the test of time is the Sea Angling Association, which has provided income and recognition for Rathmullan throughout the country and beyond.
Well, next year, 2025, will be our 57th festival, and it's gone from way back. It was formed around 1964-65 by a group of Rathmullan people, and the first committee was Jim Deaney, Frank Gallagher,
John McElhenney,
Hugo McFadden, Bertie Kelly, Tom Sheridan, and a few Letterkenny men, Joe Boner, Charlie Kelly, and John McLean, Jim Evans, and Joe Harrison. It has a good history and it's one of the oldest fishing festivals in the county.
Where did the idea of a sea angling club come from originally?
Well, I'd say myself it was probably Jim Evans and Joe Boner had two boats and they were moored here in Rathmullan, and they done a bit of fishing, just pleasure fishing. So when they met then Charlie Kelly, they decided they'd just have a 2-day festival. And it started off, and then they got a sponsor. Guinness sponsored the first festivals. And I'd say one of the reasons was because Rathmullan was a port. It was nearest to Letterkenny, and Jim Deaney had the Pier Hotel that gave them a place to get together and design all the things in.
There was huge support locally and beyond for the festival, as can be seen from the programme the committee produced for the inaugural event.
the funny thing about it, they had a great number of anglers. And at that time, there was a club in Derry, it was Sea Eagle Angling Club. They were an American base in Derry. And they were into deep sea fishing quite a lot. They met them, so they decided to have a tope festival, and a tope festival only at that time. Other fish weren't counted. And it kind of, the reputation spread, and they had up to 150 to 180 anglers per day.
And the anglers are coming from all over now, particularly from Dublin and surrounding districts who want to catch tope. And if you're running a festival, I think you've got to cater for the anglers.
That's right, yeah. Every angler likes to carry in fish anyway at the end of the day, to show his catch.
It was the same name as it is today. It was the Lough Swilly Sea Angling Association, registered with the Irish Federation of Sea Anglers, which is the governing body of sea angling in Ireland, both north and south. Well, at that time, then we hadn't any club boats as such, so we used trawlers, and we were very lucky because the Browns of Inch had about 5 boats that time, so there was no really strict conditions regarding angling, regarding life jackets or numbers that were on the boats, so you could put 20 anglers on one of the trawlers, no problem. Nowadays it's all completely different, and we got our boats then, the club boats here then, in 1999. It was our first boat, Angela, wasn't it?
That's right,
it was the Enterprise 1, and then in 2004 we got our second boat, which was the Swilly Explorer. And both those boats are registered, and their capacity is 12 anglers each. Also, the big change from that time is that all the tope now are measured, tagged and released. No tope are killed at the moment.
Long time, Mr. Hugh McFadden. I was enjoying his nice tweed cap actually there.
Well, I'm delighted to see the fish back again in Lough Swilly. It has been very scarce for the past 3-4 years now, but on today's evidence there are plenty of tope in Lough Swilly, and we hope it will attract a larger number of people.
I'm sure this was a big event, the opening of the festival.
It was a big event at the time, and the Taoiseach at the time, Jack Lynch, he came, and of course they had the army band there, and it was a big occasion at the time.
We always tried to get somebody, maybe a bit of a celebrity. So we had different people. The first main person that we had was Derek Davis.
I'm a County Down man, raised by the sea. It's a pleasure to come here, back up north, to fish again in good water, with good people, and hopefully, because we're too late in the other place, to have a good meal in Jim Keeney's Beer Hotel. God bless you.
And he was on RTE at the time. He was involved in a lot of stuff on RTE. And Neil, you actually met him at a show in Dublin.
That's right.
And invited him down to Rathmullan, and he came, and he loved it. And he came the following year, and he had, as you can imagine, he had a great time. So he was kind of kept in touch with us over the years, and he's actually dead now. He died a few years ago, but Neil and me met him maybe 4 or 5 years ago in Dublin again at a show. And then, of course, we had Brian Keenan, who had just been released from his captivity. I was watching the news on RTE shortly after that, and part of the news bulletin said that Brian Keenan was relaxing in the west of Ireland fishing. So I thought, oh God, he fishes. So anyway, I thought, well, sure, I'll ring Pascal O'Hare. Pascal he had a house here and he was solicitor in Belfast. So I rang Pascal and I said to him, asked him, do you know Brian Keenan? No, he says, I don't, but I do know somebody that does know him. So very shortly after that, he contacted me and he said that he would come. But it was all kind of hush-hush. There was no... he was still recovering from his ordeal, and they weren't sure how he would react to maybe crowds or whatever. And we took him all around. We actually took him up to Paddy McAteer's in Dan Jones' Rolls Royce, and we took him up there, and he enjoyed it. Went in and he met everybody, and you took him out fishing too, didn't you?
I did indeed, yeah. And he got his first turn-back ray, and very delighted.
Well, we had a few politicians. We had Paddy Hart, Neil Blaney. We had another fella from RTE, Jimmy Greeley.
Really? That's right.
It was always a big event, and the opening was always big, and we had a big reception in the Pier Hotel. Marine Harvest, that is now Fannet Fisheries, was there. Tony Fox, they sponsored the reception, and we had a lot of sponsors, over 100 sponsors. Some very good ones, like a lot of businesses in the Kenny supported us, as well as all the locals.
Yeah.
It was very successful. It was one of the biggest angling festivals around.
Yeah.
At that time, there was 14 angling clubs in Donegal, and most of them had a festival during the summer every weekend. So we were fishing as well in competition. So we would go to their festivals, but there was 14 at the time, but there's only 4 now.
Just offhand, would you be able to remember any of them 14?
Well, there's Downings, Port Nabla, Killybegs, Teelan, Moville, Foyle, Fawn, Fannet Orchard, Malin,
Kildare,
yeah,
Moville,
yeah,
Newcastle.
that's right.
Just shows you. Fair play, yeah.
The big thing, as Neil said, was the boats.
Yeah.
They haven't you can only take people out now on a boat if it's registered and licensed. And then if we didn't have the boats, that would make a big difference. But there's a lot of clubs in Northern Ireland. I don't know how many, there must have been 30 or 40 clubs in Northern Ireland, and they would nearly all send anglers to the festival. So that was a big thing. There's not many clubs in Northern Ireland now. There's a few, but not as many as there
Were
was.
you able to access any state funding, or?
No.
No, you had to do it on your own.
We had to do it on our own, just from sponsorship. And we always give, like, the prizes were always good. At that time, your company, Cala Gas, they were one of the main sponsors as well, and you always had a cooker or quite a big prize anyway. Barbecue or something. And
how did you get involved in this in your young days when you've been into fishing?
no, well, I was away in England for 12 years, went to school there. But before I went, strangely enough, I used to fish in the burn at Rye. Not that. But I did catch trout in it. So when we came back, I wasn't involved at all up until about in the 80s. And Anne Friel was the treasurer, and she was giving it up, and she asked me would I be treasurer. So I said I'd give it a go, and I was working in the post office at the time, and John Kelly was involved, so he said, sure, give it a go. So it meant that I was kind of involved in raising money and doing the sponsorship and stuff, but I never actually went fishing until, I don't know, it must have been nearly the 90s, the mid-80s, 90s. And the reason I went out fishing is because Mac Bowden has bought the Pegasus, and he said he was going to take all the ladies out fishing one day. So we all went, Kathleen went, and Teresa Mullins, and we all went in. There was about 8 of us, and his father was with us, and we went out to Fannet and we were fishing. He was showing me how to fish for pollock, and I loved it. I mean, I went there. After that was me hooked, as they say. So we went, fished in Cork, and Ballinmullet, and then I won the All-Ireland Ladies then one year. Can't remember what year it was. Remember bringing the cup back to Rathmullan, and it was a big cup, the size of it. It looked very like the FA Cup. It was that big. But Jerry McAteer loved it.
Oh.
So Jerry displayed it for the year that I had it. Yeah, we got grants for the boats, but there was a lot of work in that, getting the first one, and quite a lot of work in getting the second one as well, because the first one was 120,000 at that time, and it was built for us, and the second one was $250,000. So we had to supply some of that money and try and make it up again through bank loans and one thing or another, but it's turned out to be successful, but probably because we just loved it ourselves.
Yeah, both of us liked a lot of it.
Yeah, but has it made your life easier, these new boats?
Yeah, it has. Like, it's safety, and it's a wonder over all the years of festivals everywhere that nothing really serious happened. But now you wouldn't be allowed to go out at all without your licence. The boats have to be surveyed every 2 years, and they're very strict.
Where did your interest begin, or have you a background in fishing?
Well, actually, I got my first boat. We built the boat, God rest my dad and myself, in 1965, a small lake boat, and it was called Lochgill. And then when I moved up here to Donegal, I bought a second boat. It was called the Sanga, and I bought it from Arthur Keys. And that started me off, and I started meeting some of the anglers that came and wanted to go 3 and 4s, and we started just fishing the loch itself as far as Fannig Lighthouse, and that got me interested in that. And then, like Angela, I just got the love came across me for fishing as well. So I started going to different festivals, and the first festival I went to Kildare, and I met a guy in Rathmullan, the late who was it I met? One of the Gallaghers was in there, and Alfie McCollum. Alfie says, "I'll bring you fishing." He says, "I'm a traveller for Bass Charrington at the time." So we went to Kildare, and when the festival was over, I'd won one of the prizes. And that was my hook. I was hooked down from then until now.
Right.
And then I met, as Angela already said, we met people like Derek Davis and all that. Derek Davis was from the north of Ireland, and he had great contacts from the north. And the majority of our anglers that came here and still comes are northern anglers, more because of our geographical position. We're up here in the northwest, and that was it. And then we got the 2 boats. Rathmullan Charter started. That was their birth, and now we've a new pier ready for next year. So we're looking forward to a few more years doing the same thing, hopefully.
We always had the pontoon. That made it easy for the boats. When we got the boats, we needed some place safe to put them on. And the pontoon was another funding thing that we got. Actually, the idea of the pontoon was the yacht club and the MacArthurs. Andy MacArthur and John MacArthur, they were friendly with Jim Deaney. And they were saying, I think Wally was involved with the International Fund for Ireland at the time, and they were saying it would be great if we could get a landing facility in Rathmullan, because the ideas they had a way back for a marina never happened. So we got funding through them for the pontoon, and then over the years it kind of needed replacing, so we replaced it ourselves, and actually Owner Engineering in Letterkenny made it from the old plans of Bamford Engineering, and so now that's the one we have now. But without the pontoon, we would be really stuck, even with the new pier things that are going, because there's not many
safety reasons.
Yeah, you can't climb down ladders now. Yeah, it's anchored to the bottom on chains, and it's floats underneath it, and it rises and falls, because there is a big rise and fall there of like nearly 15 feet.
Well, the original Browns were their dad and Willie Brown. Yeah, he had a trawler and a very, very good seaman, and his late brothers, they were there. And then you had Jim, and you had Cecil,
Davy,
and you had Davy as well,
and Gilbert.
And Gilbert he's out in Lanzarote, and he was, when they had all the boats, they were a very big help to us at the time. And there's one or two of the Browns still involved now at the moment, which would be Willie's grandchildren, so they're still there. Yeah, one of them operates with us at the moment now, Kenny.
Cecil worked with us for when we got the boats.
Alan does some work as well.
And Alan does another little bits and pieces as well.
Can you remember any of the names of them boats they had?
Yeah.
Shenandoah, Girl Christina, Rossania,
and the Aberfoyle.
They were the four big boats.
And they had another one that Kenny reminded me about the last day called the Lily. They probably had others as well.
Yeah, there were two other smaller boats.
And then the Nivens, John Niven and Robert Niven.
Yes.
They had two small, and Boyd Bryce, they had three boats as well.
Half-deckers,
and they came every year, and there was the Fisher Boy, the North Star, and what did you call it?
Just Island Queen.
Island Queen, you're right.
So a friend of yours had a boat as well, Joe Call. And it's a good trip we had with Joe.
Oliver.
That's right. Jimmy Morrison, and they were all Patrick O'Donnell.
A few from Letterkenny.
Him and Gallagher.
Yeah.
And a few more.
A few. Francis O'Donnell
was in it. John McLean and John McCaig, they were very much into fishing as well, and they used to come to the festivals that time. John McLean, of course, was McLean and McLaughlin Motors, Letterkenny, and John had a boat called, was it the Gypsy Girl? And he liked the big fishing like pope and shark and all that, you know, so he was very much involved here in the promotion of the Tope Festival.
Where did Tom Sheridan get his interest in fishing, do you think?
Well, Tom was always interested, I believe, in a little bit of fishing and shooting, and into sport, a bit of golf. Tom was kind of an all-rounder, and when all the boys came here for the fishing festival, Tom was always there to meet them, and he had a good personality, great personality, and then he introduced his daughter to me, and Kathleen became secretary for a couple of years, and
that's right.
That was it. So
what four clubs are still functioning?
Killybegs, Bundoran,
ourselves,
and Culdaff is it was going up until lately.
Yes. Yeah. We've got a lot of members in the club now at the moment again. It's mostly based now in Letterkenny, because most of the anglers are from that area, and they've changed the name slightly to the Lasswelly Sea Angling Club. Represented Ireland, some of our anglers there, they're in the club at the moment, and they fish the local festivals and the Fish Horror Festival, and then a master angler is selected and reserve, and they go on the Irish team. And I was lucky, I got on the Irish team in 1983. I fished in Port Rush, and I got on the Irish team. And when you get on the Irish team, then it gives the youngsters and brings along the juveniles, because you know, the sea with the green blazer and the green cap and all. So the club is very successful club.
The seniors, there's about maybe 12 or 14. The juniors, they have a junior section as well that Charlie Devon and Larry Kenny and a few of the others look after, and they've got a fairly good membership, like from what age, from about maybe 12 up. And some of them are coming on very well. They've done all their coaching, and some of them are doing quite well. They actually have got onto the junior teams, so they are very progressive in what they're doing.
So, and how do you see the future for the club?
The big numbers way back in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s was because there was only a few places that had a festival. And that was a 2-day festival, and you had maybe 150 anglers each day, 300. Now you have about maybe 20 outings by the club. So the anglers are spread out, and it's mostly based on safety and boats being licensed, and that you cannot pack on 20 anglers onto a boat anymore. So it's all for insurance purposes and safety.
What was Jimmy's role in the club during Morrison?
Jimmy looked after the weigh-in in the evening. And that was the time that they landed the Pope on the pier. They were all put on the weighing scales, and that's how it was by poundage then. So if you had a 30-pound fish, and 10 of them was 300 naturally, so you built up your weight. But now it's measurement, tagged, and there's a chart adapted to the length and breadth of the fish, the girth of the fish. So it's all conservation now.
And what about the gender balance in it, Angela?
It would still be mostly male. I would say that fishing in competitions, there's a few now girls in the junior club in Letterkenny, and Charlie, who worked in the hospital, has a good few. He would take the nurses out, but they wouldn't be fishing most of the time. Like when I was in it, I was maybe the only one. There might have been one or two ladies that fished, but at festivals it was nearly all male. Eugene, he worked from when he was a wee fella with Mac Bowden on the Pegasus, and he was always going out when we were going out we went out with Mac a lot, because it was only boat, and we used to go out to the wrecks away out on Fanna that nobody had ever been to before. There was no boats went out that far, but Eugene, he worked with Mac, and then he always, like, he's actually a marine biologist now, and he works in Killybegs with the Marine Institute, but he does a bit of stuff for us as well. On the boats, he would take the boat out for us as well, and he's very, very good at what he does. He fished when he was a wee fella. So did Mark Smith. And some of the Deanies, Connor Blake, all those young fellas, they all fished at the time. But Tony Morrison, Gavin McElhenney, Damien, they all fished.
And Fanula.
Fanula was one of the ones that did fish, one of the ladies that did fish in Rathmullan.